Got it.
Hello, everyone. It's Carolyn with Stamping.Cards. You are watching Stamp with Janice and Carolyn.
Hi, everybody. It's Janice with JT Stamps.
And this is episode 8. I always double check with you. Is that right?
That's right.
I put in the title and then I forget. But it's episode 8 of Stamp with Janice and Carolyn. We're two Canadian independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrators who we love stamping. We want to share that with you. And so like and subscribe to our channels. Mine is Stamping.Cards and Janice is at JT Stamps. So make sure you give us some likes and subscribe. So whenever we add a new video to YouTube, then you'll get that automatically, that notification come up automatically. Today, our theme is Case the Catty, which is, if you're unfamiliar with what Catty means, it's just like a short, fun term for our annual catalogs. So we decided that this week we didn't have the same stamp set from the catalog, the Catty. So we just chose one that we liked from the catalog, took the inspiration from the artwork in the catalog, and then we're going to make one. Does that make sense?
I really like this idea because there's so many great samples in the catalog that you miss sometimes. So I really like doing this. This was fun.
I liked it too. And it kind of takes some of the pressure off the design part. So
exactly, yeah.
And case means copy and share everything, or copy and stamp everything, but you can also change up some of the elements from the initial inspiration card to whatever you want to make it. So I think that's where we kind of landed today. What do you think, Janice?
We did.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mine changed from the original a little bit for sure. So
Mine
I'm going to go. Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and spotlight my desk for everyone. I'm going to remove the pins. There we go. So you can see this is our current mini catalog for Stampin' Up. And Stampin' Up has just reached 35 years as a company. So we haven't quite been with Stampin' Up that long, but just know it's a very reputable company. And if you haven't heard of it before, you can find us online anywhere. So this is our mini catalog, and it's available from January until the end of April 2023. And the stamp set that I used is here. This is the suite. It's called Share a Milkshake, and I used the bundle, which includes our stamp set and our dies. And then this was my inspiration card. So this is my Case the Catty sample, where we make those waffle cones and have some fun designer paper on there. And the other thing, I did use some designer series paper, but not quite that one that is shown on this sample. The paper that I use actually comes from page 43 of this catalog, and it's the, what's it called? We got to find it. Delicate Desert Designer Series paper. So not delicate dessert, but close enough that we can make dessert. So I actually use this paper and then this one here as well. So if you wanted to see both of those. And the colors are Petal Pink, Calypso Coral, Cajun Craze, Pale Papaya, Soft Succulent, and Gray Granite. But I didn't use all of those colors. I used some of them in my card. I also used on my card this die from the Picture This die set. And that was the easiest way. And I think that was used on my inspiration card. And so I used that a few times. And that's called Picture This dies. And then I used the Share a Milkshake dies and the stamp set. And it's just so cute. I've done several on my Facebook page with those now. And this is what our end product today is going to look like. Hope you can see the colors in that because it's really cute. And other things that I used, I'll hold it up a little bit. We use the Versamark, and for ink, I also use Soft Suede, Cherry Cobbler, Pale Papaya, Calypso Coral, and Early Espresso. So quite a few. And the DSP, like I said before, was the Delicate Dessert. And the piece I used was 5 by 3 7/8. So I'll pull some of that in so you can have a look. The pieces I've got ready. It's kind of a mini piece multi-piece card, so I prepped a lot of it in advance. For cardstock, the base is going to be Whisper White, and I used a piece that was 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. So that's going to be a half sheet card. And then I used the piece of DSP. The DSP itself was 5 by 3 and 77/5. So actually that's 3 3/4. This is an easier way to say that. And then the cardstock that I mounted that behind is soft suede, and that's 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. So you just have a 1/8 edge on each side all the way around. And you can see I already ran it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine using the picture this dies in this layout right here. And then I also used a piece of pale papaya and petal pink, and this one is Calypso Coral. So I used a sheet of those three to get those circles with the same die. It's like as clear as mud. So you still need pieces of those big enough to run through, so you can use the little circles, but you'll see where that goes in a little bit. What else did I use? I used a white embossing pattern, and I'm going to use the Early Espresso marker. Also used our rhinestone basic jewels, foam dimensionals, and sponge daubers. So now that you know the list of all the things I used, I'm going to start stamping with you. So this is our card base, and then that's going to be the front. And while I'm stamping, I'm going to use my envelope and my card liner as well, which I didn't mention before. So the liner of the inside of the card. Going to start with our waffle cones. These I cut out with the die from the stamp set, this one here. And then you get that waffle cone. And I'm going to use the sponge dauber with the Early Espresso ink to give some color to the edge of that card. Also, while I'm here, I use this small die with some Early Espresso kind of off-cut pieces to use on the card. I use this one to make some ice cream, and I use the cherry as well. And those were the dies that I used. So the cherry, the ice cream topper, the waffle cone, and this little piece too. It could be whipped cream, but I used it as chocolate today. So that's why I used Early Espresso. So I'm going to open up our ink pad, Early Espresso. I'm going to pull in, this is my storage for my ink daubers. I'm trying to open it, but I think it's open already. And then I've got it labeled. So I look for Early Espresso. So I have one sponge dauber for each of the colors in our color family. And this is the side that you'll see when we fold it, except for this middle part. The middle part you're going to see on the flat side where it's not waffled. You don't see that die, so I'm going to be flipping it back and forth to put the color on here. Do this quickly. Just along the edge, just to give it like a little toasty look. And I think I went maybe a shade darker than the cone that was on the inspiration page. That's okay. It turned out pretty good anyway. So I'm doing the inside of that waffle cone, the middle part, and then I'm doing the outside of these because this gets folded together. So you have a little bit of a 3D effect on there. And then that's it for my sponge dauber. It's there. These two I don't stamp on, so I'm going to put them over here. These two I do stamp on, and I just have extra. So you only need 2 of them, but I prepped extra just in case it didn't go as planned. So I'm going to pull in the Calypso Coral, and I'm going to stamp with this stamp. Looks like a little scoop of ice cream. And then I'm going to put it right over top. I'm going to do one in Calypso Coral. And the other one is going to be, let me clean that off a little bit. That was going to be pale papaya. Oops, I think I got that on my fingers. So I'm just making sure that's clean before I come onto the stamp pad here. I'm gonna line it up and stamp down. And there we go. Got those two ready to go. I might even try and get rid of some of that white because just by rubbing it along the ink pad, because it does show up a little tiny bit when you put in the waffle cone. So I'll just tap it along there just to get rid of the white a little, hide it a little bit. So it did change it, but it gets folded into the waffle cone, so we won't see a lot of that. I just wanted to cover up where it will be white. So that's it for this top of that. Let's see. I think I'll do the little cherries next. And you're gonna need 3 of the white circles. So still again with that picture this die, I use that a lot on this card, just so that I had the different colors. And also I ran a Whisper White through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine to get these. Now, this is a small, tiny stamp. It is like tiny. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to use Cherry Cobbler, which is a great red, which went well with the other colors I'm using on the card. And I'm going to pull this up a little bit just to show you. I'm going to put the stamp close to this edge, but I don't want to ink up the stem. So this is what I'm doing to ink the stamp, because I want, oh, I just pulled it all the way down. So I'm going to ink it up, tap it there a couple of times with my finger so you can see. And then the stem hasn't been inked, but now I want to ink my stem, but I'm going to pull in my early espresso marker and use the brush end and color in the stem real quick. Might want to huff on it, just blow on it a little bit, and then stamp straight down and pull up on the circle. And I love that stamp. It's got some gradient in it or something. And so then I'm going to color on the stem with the early espresso, puff on it a little bit, stamp straight down. And I'm using my Stampin' Pierce mat as well for this technique, because these are photopolymer stamps, and photopolymer stamps better if you do use the Stampin' Pierce mat. It needs that little bit of extra cushion. And there we go. So we have our 3 little cherries stamped here. I use that same technique and the cherry die for these 2 little cherries as well that are going to go on top of the waffle cone. But I thought I won't go through the trouble of stamping those and using the small die on screen. Okay, those were the extras, I think. And here are my little pieces with the early espresso. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is take the Calypso Coral circle and my embossing buddy, and I'm going to run that across to take away the static, pull in my white embossing powder. Stamp I'm going to use is You're the Cherry on top, and a Versamark pad. So I'm going to ink that up, pop that on there. And Versamark pad is a clear sticky ink pad, so you can use it to get watermarks on your cardstock, or you can use it for heat embossing, which is what we're going to do here. So I've used some white embossing powder, and because that Versamark ink is sticky, we've got some powder staying on our cardstock. And then you're going to want to pull in your heat gun or heat tool, and you're going to slide it on. I'm going to turn it on. So when it gets hot, we're going to heat emboss. Let's see if we can see this. When it turns from opaque to shiny, you're melting this powder essentially so that you can, your stamps sentiment. I'm burning my fingers today. Stamp sentiment is going to be embossed on here. And it gets a little brighter and darker. It all melts together. Whew, blow everything away. I need to bring it down. All right, I think that has done it. So that's it. You're the cherry on top. So I want to show you how to heat emboss that. But that one's a little too big. I need to use this one. So it just fits on there. I blew everything away and over. Let me see. Use that one, use this one, use this one. All right, now we can start assembling our card. So when you're ready to assemble, I put some ink on that, but that's okay. I'm going to cover that up. This one, these ones are extra. I'm going to pull in my card again. I'll move that up here a little, maybe like that. So I can start assembling the card with you. I'm going to use my favorite adhesive, which is the Tombow Multi-Purpose Liquid Glue. I've already put the designer series paper on there just because I wanted to get it nice and straight. But I also use the Tombow Multi-Purpose Glue. I wanted to give it a chance to dry as well. So then, that ink, or not ink, I've got glue on my fingers. Try not to make my card sticky. And there we go. There's the base of the card. So that is a delicate desserts. I think it's called not desserts. I keep saying that. Delicate desert. It has the clips of coral and the pale papaya and the petal pink here. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some, and I've already done it, foam adhesive or dimensionals on there. And the way I want to set it up, I want to put that one there and this one here and my colorful one here. But I do need some Stampin' dimensionals. I'm using 2 sizes of the dimensionals today because we have some tiny things, the cherries, to put on here as well. So this is your sentiment. You're the cherry on top, and you're just lining it up over top, and they fit exactly in there. Just gives a little dimension. And these ones, I'm going to take the backing off. Flip that one over. Pop that one in there. If you like our page, let us know, send comments. Also, let me know if you have seen the other cards that I've made using this set that I've posted on my Facebook page, which is stamping.cards. So got that done. Now I'm going to work on our waffle cones, assembling them. So I found that giving a little wiggle helps the cardstock not crack. If you go right to folding it, it cracks a little bit. So we don't want that to happen, because then you get like frayed edges. So we're going to move this to the side because I'm going to bring back my Tombow glue. I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue on this one right after I add the ice cream to the top. Now this doesn't come off over the edge very much, but you just kind of center it and then look to see, make sure that you don't see the white part in the center there, and you don't, so that'll work. I'm going to put another little bit of glue over on the left-hand side, and then you can hold it together just for a couple of seconds, and that will be your waffle cone. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the petal, is it petal pink? Pale papaya. Actually, pale papaya is one of the colors that's retiring this year, I believe. So if you like that color, you need to go get it. So you're putting your glue on the inside. So I'm going to fold it in. And then I need to move this one down a little tiny bit because it's showing in that little crevice. There we go. And Tombow glue is forgiving for that because it takes a minute or two to dry. So you can move things around a tiny little bit. So then I'm going to layer these onto those cards, and see how I didn't worry too much about having that little spot of ink because I knew these were going to cover it up. I'm going to put them a little bit close to one another like that, I think. And so that means I only need glue kind of at the top area where it's going to sit on that circle. If you want extra stability, you can pull in a Stampin' Dimensional for the bottom half, because this circle is up on a dimensional anyway. So that will help it. Oh, yeah, I'll still be able to do that. No, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait, because if I go ahead and do that, I might not get my white circles on there very well. And that's where we're putting these white circles with the cherries that we stamped. And these can be like haphazardly kind of back and forth. I think I did follow the Catty, the inspiration card for that. So these didn't get dimensionals. They were just glued directly to the card. So now that they're on there, I can put on my waffle cones. Turn that over. A little bit of Tombow glue can come up here a little bit, maybe even overlap it a little bit. And then we're going to put the chocolate on the top of the cones. And then after you add the chocolate, you can add the little cherry. And believe it or not, there are a whole bunch of rhinestones on the inspiration card. There are 7, which I never usually go that many to put 7 on, but I am going to this time because I have to encase in the Catty. So I'm going to do whatever the catalog thinks is a good idea in terms of design. So I've got a mini dimensional, so adding another little dimension to put the cherries on top of the ice cream. And put that one here. That looks okay. That's so cute. I love this card. Love how it's turned out. But now the last step, I'm going to pull in the rhinestone basic jewels. And I'm just going to pick these up. And I'm looking at my inspiration card to see where they were kind of placed. Not even, so I don't even have to think about where these are going, which is it's easy peasy. So one on the cherry right there. There was one on this cherry right here. And the last one was kind of at the top. So there's 7 rhinestones on here now, which made it super sparkly.
Okay.
So that's the front of the card. I'm going to go an extra step because I had a lot prepared for you, and stamp a liner. So the liner, I'm going to use the early espresso, and then I'm going to use the stamp that says life is sweeter with you. And I'm going to pull back in my Stampin' Pierce mat because it is a photopolymer set. Go and stamp that in the middle, straight down, straight up. And then I'm going to pull cherry cobbler back in. So that was early espresso. And use the hearts that come with this set. Stamp some hearts here, the top corner. Stamp some hearts here at the bottom corner. And then that's going to be my liner for the inside of the card. I also stamped the outside of the envelope. Put that in here in a second. So pull the envelope in. And what did I do? I used the 2 colors, Calypso Coral and the Pale Papaya, and the stamp set, or the little heart. So I stamped the little ice cream dish. And there's a second stamp that you can stamp on top of this one as well if you want to do a little more detail, but I just went ahead and did one-step stamping for the envelope. Open that pale papaya. Get an ice cream happening on top. So cute. And then with the cherry cobbler, I'm going to come in and stamp some of the hearts right over top of the whole thing. And that's going to be the envelope. Better move these inks out of the way. I've got 4 open inks. It's like a time bomb going off on the side. So there's my envelope. Here's the card. And then that is the liner that I'm going to add. And I'm going to use Tombow. Stay about roughly 1/4 of an inch away from the sides because you don't want your glue squeezing out onto your card and making it all sticky. And then that's going to be your finished card. Life is sweeter with you. You're the cherry on top. And your envelope all ready to go. So I hope you it's cute, right? So
It is. I like it.
I thought that was cute too. So this is the one I started with. This is the one I made for you. So the only difference was the piece of designer series paper that I used, but all the other colors were all the same. So I hope you like that little technique of coloring the stem with the not the embossing folder. What am I saying? With the marker. It's an easy little trick for you to incorporate on your cards as well.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Yeah, so I'm glad you like it. And even I hope you start putting 7 rhinestones on your cards too. All right, Janice, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm going to replace my spotlight with your desk. You can show us what you're doing today.
I will. So my project is from the annual catalog and it's on page 95. And I'm making this card here. And I originally, when I looked at it, I thought it was mostly the mountain air with the deer from the grassy grove. But when I started making it, I realized it was a lot of this waterfall canyons, which I didn't have. So I've done a little bit of improvising as well. But I think it works. So here's my card. And I will just going to get rid of that on the screen. I have all the pieces pre-cut here. So it's card base is old olive and it's 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4. So standard, I call it standard card base. Fold it in half. And then the colored, the stamped on layer is a little, it's actually, I think, because this layer is 4 by 5 1/4. And this is cut with the diorama dies, the layering diorama dies, that's these. So I use the 3rd largest right here to cut that one out. And then I embossed it. Did I bring the embossing folder with me? I think I did. Yes. I embossed it with the Timber 3D embossing folder.
I love that one.
So yeah, so after I die cut it, I ran it through there. And so I pre-did that for my card already. Then I used the Majestic Mountain dies and I used those trees and stamped them and cut them out. So that was originally supposed to be from the Waterfall Canyon, but this set has trees, so it works as well.
Perfect.
And I stamped and cut the deer from the grove dies. And then the little banner piece here is from the Stylish Shapes dies. And it was the largest of the short banner.
Oh, I love the Stylish Shapes. One of my new favorites.
I know I've been using them a lot lately too. So the Grassy Grove and the Mountain Air. Sorry about the light reflection there.
Nice.
I also debated using these trees, but I went with the other ones here. These were a little big, so I did those on the outside and then these for the background. So I'll show you that as we go. So the deer is stamped in crumb cake. Now my crumb cake ink is very, very juicy. So when I was stamping it, I thought, oh, it's not coming out right. It was, so I just used, this is a Pampered Chef scraper
Oh,
to
yeah.
scrape the ink up. So let's see if it's still good or if I need to do that again. And I just have some scraps here of white for the trees and the deer. I'll stamp them. I did pre-cut them, but oh yeah, that's much better now. So I stamp the deer. And then I die cut them. And here he is, magic. And then I use the garden green. And I was still really juicy too. Ooh, juicy too. So I had a Stampin' Spot that was much better for the green. So this is the stamp I used from the Grassy Grove. No, sorry, from the Mountain Air stamp set. And take that one off. Now, you can make it a little shorter because it's, I ended up cutting off the bottom because it was a little too tall anyway. So,
Oh,
and I have my stamp pad under my grid paper here. My Pierce pad. There we go. And again, cut it out. And there we go. So I pre-cut those two banners. There's one in Old Olive and one in Pool Party. So those are done. So before I assemble, I'm going to stamp this background on this card. So what I used here was for the clouds, I used the clouds that were in the Mountain Air die, this one right here. But this is one that you can flip over. So I just wanted the outline because I wasn't sure if that was clouds or rocks. And I used it right here for the rocks. So I flipped the stamp over. So the normal stamping side is now on your block. And I used the blue for the clouds. Move this to the side so I don't lose them and get them wet. And I tried it first and stamped off. Sorry, I have to take that one off. And this ink pad is not so bad. So I didn't attach it because I ended up actually having to flip it, but I kind of want that's cloud here. And then I stamped another one that I want a little higher and a little more off to the side. So it's going to be kind of peeking out from the diorama die. So that's the back of that one. And then I did the rocks in the front. So I flipped my stamp. This was over on the blue. I flipped it over to the textured side. And I'm going to use my smoky slate for the rocks. And couldn't find all my small blocks today. So now this one's going to be towards the bottom and it's going to fit in the opening. So I did a couple stamps and then I kind of checked to see where the placement was and if I was going to have enough. And this one you can flip over just for a little bit of different look here.
Oh, that's cute.
And I think they look like pretty good rocks. I don't know what
I do too.
they could be clouds. I can see the clouds too, but I didn't want to use the exact same. So now let's just put our diorama over and see. Yep, that's filled in pretty good. So what I did on that one, after I colored sort of after I stamped it in, I used the light smoky slate and I just colored them in to give it a little bit more. Oops, sorry, shaking my desk here. And I wasn't too particular because I didn't mind if there was a little bit of white on the rocks or a little bit lighter and darker areas. And some of it's going to be covered with the outline.
They look good.
And then I think the pool or the lake that's showing in the original card is the back of one of the waterfall canyon dies, which I didn't have. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to stamp the trees around the edges. And I used a scrap piece of paper. Let me just grab my scrap here to cover the bottoms of the trees. So I used the single tree stamp for this one. And I did some garden green, and I also did some old olive, just to mix it up a little bit. And because on the card there were 2 colors as well. It actually looked like 3, so I stamped off the old olive instead of getting out the pear pizzazz. So on this side, I did stamp one kind of full measurement, and it's going to be hidden anyway. Some of it's going to be, oh, that didn't stamp very good. Let's see. We'll just stamp another one over top of it. And then I use I did another one on the other side in that color before I inked it up. And this one I did a shorter one. So, and I'm kind of looking to see where am I going to have my little lake come around. So I did this tree here. And by using the scrap, I only get half the tree. So it's just the tree top instead of the whole length. So then stamp that up a little bit. And I'm going to do the old olive. I'm going to use the same technique. I'm going to use my scrap paper here. And this one's going to come down a little bit because I didn't want to go up over the cloud on that one. And then I'm going to bring it down a bit more for the stamped off one. Here we go. That's a little bit lighter. And I think I put another full strength one in here. A little bit higher. There we go. And then I put a couple on this side, back behind that larger tree. So I'm only kind of doing like Carolyn did too, stamping just kind of on the edge. So I didn't get all the bottom since I'm going to be stamping it off anyway. So this one, I want it here. And then I'm going to do a short one down in here, or shorter one. And that all, I think that was all I did, but I may do another short one on the inside, and I want it stamped off because I want a light one down here. There we go.
Looking good.
So then I just brought in my pool party, excuse me, my dark pool party, and started coloring in between the trees and the rocks. And I'm just making a faux pool, or I guess a lake. And this one should have been up, but I think it's going to be covered by my die cut, so I'm not going to worry about that. So just go around the edges. So rather than trying to find a background stamp, because I tried to use the back of these clouds, and then when you overlap, it didn't look very good. So I thought, oh, I'll just use my blends and make my own little lake. So once you stamp the trees where you want them and the rocks, it's easy to color it in around there. And this is the full party, and you can go right to the edge, but it's going to be covered up a little bit by your diorama. There we go. Now I could grab a garden green and color in those spots, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. What I also do sometimes is grab a blender pen and use it, rub it over there, and that'll blend that ink into the spots that you kind of missed.
Yeah, it will.
Okay, so let's grab I attach this to the base before I put the diorama over top. So I use the liquid glue, Tombow multi-purpose. Just like Carolyn's tip, leave a little bit around the edges so it doesn't squish out all over your project when you put it on. Make sure my card's opening at the bottom.
That's always good.
Yeah.
We've never done that, Janice, so
no,
that's never happened.
And this piece is 3 3/4 by 5. So just a 1/4 of an inch smaller because I didn't want it coming out over this one. Now this one I'm going to put on dimensionals. Did I bring them? Yes, I did. And the backs are coming off before the dimensional. My nails are really, I had gel nails on and most of them have broken off now, and I need to go back and get them redone or I don't think I'm going to put the gels back on them, but
yeah,
just get a regular manicure, and just haven't gotten around to it. So this one does use I used a few dimensionals around it because I didn't want it sagging in the middle or on the sides, but here, I'm gonna put one on the bottom. Higher, there we go. Now center this over your base. Try to get it straight. Here we go. Okay, not bad.
It comes to life so quickly with that.
Yeah, it does, right?
It does, yeah.
So I have my deer, which I also put on a dimensional on this side. And this is, I stamped it first when my ink was too juicy and it was kind of blotchy and not nice. So flipped it over and stamped it again. It's the beauty of our cardstock.
It's
And
nice
then
and thick, so those little boo-boos, they don't
it
go through.
doesn't go through. Yeah. And then I put just a little dab of glue on each of the feet, just because, and a little bit on the tail, because it was up. This part is raised up, so that's going to go right around there. Try to get them straight. Foreground. And then I have my other trees for the foreground. Let me see if I can dig them out. Oh, here it is. Now this one, I didn't put, so it is covered, this part covered up that tree that I was a little low on. This one I cut because when I stamped and put the greeting on, I didn't want it coming below, but I think I'm okay on this one. I don't think I need to, it might stick on the side here. So what I did with this was layered it a little bit, again, following what was in the picture. And I stuck those two together. So let me stamp on that first though. Yes. So I used the thank you stamp. I didn't want to bring in a third stamp set. So I used the thank you stamp from the Grassy Grove, which is where the deer's from as well. I don't think I showed you that. And the thank you stamp here. And everything is going to go crashing down on me in a second. And here's my thank you stamp. Okay. Just going to take this tree off. And this one I stamped, I actually used the garden green because I thought it would show up the best on the the pool party cardstock. So this is just a Stampin' Spot. We get these in paper pumpkin kits. There's also a set of, I think it's 8 of these that you can get in the catalog as well. But I'm not sure which colors are on them. So this may or may not be one of them. And I'm just gonna wipe around the edge because I don't want to mess up that piece with an outline. And I see I got the outline in the ink. So I'm gonna huff. I'm gonna do it a little bit to the left. Can you still see me? Sorry.
Yep.
And just because we're gonna end up trimming the edge of that one. There we go. So I glued them on and then decided where I wanted them layered on the card before I cut the end off them. So this one is kind of, the old olive comes down below a little bit. There we go. Just hold that for a second. And then I did put them on dimensionals when I attached them to the card. And this is not attached yet, again, because I want to see where this goes first. So I think that would be good there. And I'm just noticing I had a patch on my, I had a patch on the bottom here from my rocks that didn't get colored. So I'm gonna just color that in gray. There we go. I think that was below the actual stamp and I missed it.
Yeah.
So this one can go right here in the corner, close to the bottom. And I'm trying to line up there. So it's right about here. And I'm going to cut and eyeball it and hopefully I get it straight. And let's see. It's pretty good. I'm looking at the pool party one because I know the old olive one is off a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
And the very tip kind of hangs over, so I'm not going to do a dimensional out there. This part I'm just going to glue on now. So if that was hanging down too low, I would have just trimmed the bottom. That's what I did on my original card, but I didn't really need to on that one. So, and then I'm going to put a dimensional on the inside corner because that part's going into the diorama part. So
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah, so this one goes here, right about there. And then we put our, so that's stuck there. Put this to the edge. There we go. I really wanted to add some sparkle or gems to it, but like Carolyn said, I was trying to follow the catalog as close as possible and there were no gems on there, but I think I might put like a gem, a couple here on the side to just to pop it up a little bit, or maybe even color the water with Wink of Stella. That'd be cute. Would make it sparkle.
That would be cute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sparkle there, or
sometimes
when I'm doing masculine cards. Sorry, I was just saying linen thread is a great addition to masculine cards. I find.
Yeah, exactly. And I just was going to stamp one more tree in the bottom, just for the inside. I didn't actually put a greeting on the inside because I don't know what I want to use it for yet. But I'm going to use the old olive because that's that paper. So I thought it would be a little bit better. I think, there we go. I'll put that one there. And a later one to the side. There we go.
Very pretty.
I actually used the foam mat from the Stamparatus, and it doesn't seem to work as well as the paper piercing mat for photopolymer stamps. So, but that's okay. And then I'm just going to glue this on. Here's my inside. There we go.
So adorable. I love that.
Not long. Yeah, it's not too bad once you get all the elements together.
Yeah. I don't have the diorama set yet. So like,
Took me a long time before I got it. And then I saw so many cards that I wanted to do with it. And I thought, okay, I think it was when Stampin' Up had their dies on sale a while ago. That's when I said, okay,
yeah, I think that's what happens.
Yeah.
we see things that we need to do.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not enabling or anything.
No, not at all.
We got to do it. Well, this was episode 8. We cased the Catty tonight. So thanks for joining us with Stamping with Janice and Carolyn. Come back next week for episode 9.
Yay.
Yay. Thanks,
all
everyone.
Right. Thanks.
Bye, Janice. See you next week.
Day, evening.